Good morning and welcome to another night of VCS English. As you can see, we are running a little bit short on stuff, so I'm all alone for this first series, unfortunately, because we have a lot of emergencies and illnesses coming up in our team. So, well, here I am alone. We will be joined by a play-by-play caster for the later series today, which is something I begged for, because of course later today we have a very important series, the finals rematch from last year. It's Saigon Buffalo against GAM, both of their last series of the first round, and quite important series at that. GAM sitting at 6-0, Saigon Buffalo at 3-3, so it can really shape their season. So fortunately we will be joined by a second caster. But as this first series now is another one of Box's series, I decided to, well, I tried to get some people in, but it's very short notice, so I thought, okay, we can also just sit back a bit and enjoy the show with maybe a little bit more low-key casting, so I apologize if it's not going to be as hype, because I also need to preserve a little bit of my voice for the second series and tomorrow, so I can't really go off too hard. Let's see if the games will be close. I will be trying to solo cast them as closely to actual casting as possible. If the games are as expected, stomps in favor of Flash because MBE hasn't won a single game, then we might go more into the co-stream alley, because I feel like that's all respect we really owe MBE. Unfortunately, so far, MBE hasn't won a single game in this league, so unless they suddenly jump up and win all the games and play a competitive series, I don't really think we owe them the courtesy to cast their games as if they were to win games, because factually, they haven't won any games, so I don't feel too bad about that. Unfortunately, yeah, if you don't know about these two teams, these were the two projected bottom-tier teams. So, Flash came in after being demoted from the league, ousted from the league, and they still kept together. Flash used to be one of our big teams. If you're new to the VCS, Flash was one of the contenders and actually won 2 titles in 2020. But COVID really, really hurt their team's operation, because they had a championship team and then never went to go international. They lost a lot of sponsorship money and they had to go low budget, so they dropped out of the league, and now they're finally back in with a team that actually showed some promise in the Asian Challengers League, Star League Challenge, which happened in December of last year, where they went to the quarterfinals, I believe. So they looked alright. On the other hand, MBE, or MGN Box Esports, were also a second-tier team, but they are truly a second-tier team. The difference between Flash and Box is Flash is actually a promising second-tier team that would have promoted by all likelihood anyway, and is filled with players which are promising. We have Yoshino, a 3-time champion of the league, in the top lane, and then put in one of the big rookie players in the bot lane, as we are going to head into draft shortly. Go in draft. We have Flash on blue side and MBE on the red side. So, yeah, Fuguan has played in the league before, so they have some veteran players. On the other side, almost all the players on the side of MBE are entirely new players into entirely new prospects with almost no history. I think the best player so far very clearly has been Tom Rio, former GAM substitute jungler, who played, I think, 1 series for GAM, but he has looked pretty good in the context of not winning a single game, so always have to keep that in consideration. They were actually kind of close this week already to winning a game against Saigon Buffalo. Unfortunately, they couldn't close it out, and their main problem as a team so far has always been that closing out issue, where they are actually kind of decent in laning phase and have been able to accrue some leads through really good ganks, really good early activity from Tom Rio, decent laning phase, especially from Sunma and Nugu. And yeah, they have had something like a 5k gold lead, a 4k gold lead before. Unfortunately, mid and late game is where they really falter and don't look on the same tier as all the other VCS teams. They just don't really seem to have the coordination, the macro sense down. And I hope we can see improvement because, of course, they will hopefully get scrims. Maybe not against VCS teams, but at least against maybe second tier VCS and maybe some Japanese teams. So their macro should slowly increase with all the stage games against the actual VCS teams too. So I'm hopeful that we're going to see them win at least a game in the second half. And maybe today is the day, because Flash, of course, the projected other bottom 2 team. So maybe this is their best opportunity. I'm having a look at their stats right now, which obviously don't look great. Their game time is 27 minutes, so they haven't been able to hold out for long either in terms of average game time. They're on average almost 3k gold down at 15, so while I just talked about them being able to get some leads somewhere, their average is still super low, so they still struggle a lot in the early game. And yeah, well, all their stats look horrible, as expected. They are 0-12. I think in terms of champion pool, we have a few promising signs. Their mid laner has shown us a lot of different champions, so he's very flexible. He can play Tristana, but also some of the mages. And their top laner, Sunmer, has a big champion pool as well, has actually shown us a game of Cannon, which could come to, yeah, we can see the Cannon ban here, this time against Yoshino, who is a known old-school Cannon player. It's a little bit interesting that all the people are focusing so much on Cannon, even though we're still on 13.4. He should be a big pick next patch, but it seems like VCS is already looking ahead, probably playing a lot of solo queue already, and feeling the strong Cannon pick, even though the Cannon right now isn't actually strong yet. It's just next patch that's gonna happen. On the other side, Team Flash, they are 5-8 in game score, so doing okay. Unfortunately fell 0-2 this week earlier. That was their opportunity to actually go 3-3 in series, so they're now slightly behind. If they win today, they're 3-4, which is alright. It's not enough to make playoffs, but if they search a bit, they could make playoffs. So Flash still in an okay position. They're actually up on average, 866 gold at 15 minutes. That's a bit surprising, thinking about this team with all the rookies, but Puddin, Yoshino are all very good laners, especially Yoshino had a big resurgence. And if you look at the champions now, Jane with the Ryze, he has played Ryze once before. His biggest champions are Annie and Jace, and those are not available, both banned by the side of MBE, so clear target on Jane's head, who has only played a single game on all the other champions, so trying to put him off comfort here is MBE. We have Aphelios first pick, it's the most played for Puddin, so no surprises there. Also most played for Sora on the Nautilus, so a lot of comfort. I'm a little bit worried about this tank iteration now for the side of Yoshino, because he has been one of the main carries. 26% damage percentage, very high for a top laner, 5 Fiora games, 2 Jace games, a Cannon game, so this is a complete change of style. They will put a lot of emphasis on Puddin to carry this game. There's also Fook, of course, on the Diego, a champion he has played before, even before in earlier iterations of his stay in the VCS, so no surprise there. But I'm a little bit concerned about Flash's comp because Yoshino doesn't really have a carry champion. On the other side, we see Jinx. She has come back into the meta, even though I think the next patch is the one where she gets buffed, but we have seen a lot of Jinx all across the world, so no surprise there. And the big interesting part here is the Nautilus. Not the Nautilus, the Nocturne, of course. Apologies. We've seen one Nocturne game, and it was pretty bad. So I'm not a big Nocturne believer. Into Aphelios, it runs into the problem where it can potentially kill the Aphelios, especially in the mid game, but if it can't, it insta-dies in return. So it's a little bit of a feast or famine kind of setup where you dive into the Aphelios, and if he has red and white ready and some peel, then the Nocturne just becomes a suicide missile that dies instantly. And especially pro play Nocturne usually doesn't really go all that aggressive in terms of itemization, so sometimes you just see the Nocturne go like half bruiser, half assassin, and be completely useless. So yeah, I'm a little bit worried for this one. It is Tom Rio though, so their best player, so hopefully he can show us a few early plays. Nocturne not really known for early ganks, but he might be able to maybe bait something in bot lane. Maybe get the better of the mid lane. And why are we showing? Yes, that was nice bait. Showing Rift for 1 second just to go to Vietnamese casters. Nice, thanks. Makes producing very easy. Yeah, so I would definitely predict still a 2-0 for Flash. Just because we haven't seen MBE win a game, and Flash is actually a decent team. They're still one of the bottom teams, but they're decent. And I personally am a big fan of Puddin and Yoshino, two of the ADC and top lane, of course, of Team Flash. Especially Puddin, I think, is the new ADC prodigy. We have so many good ADCs, by far the best position in our league. With Artemis and Shogun, of course, at the helm, the two best ADCs in the league, and the two hardest carries. And then we have Style, who is a very good ADC, not quite as hard to carry, not quite as big of a hyper carry player, but a very flexible player. He's able to play mages and so on. But all the middle tier ADCs are really good too. We have Eddie, the Zarya specialist. We have, well, SPDC's ADC should be Slater, but they also have Winboys, who has looked alright. So that's another good position. So yeah, ADC is really competitive here. I think the only bottom tier ADCs so far are Vit and Slows. Vit has looked serviceable, I'd say. Not on the same tier as the good ADCs, which is a problem for Wales, because they can't really win ADC heavy comps against Wales and Saigon Buffalo. But yeah, Vit has not inted much, which is an improvement to earlier splits, I feel. So not bad, but also not good enough for the super team to work. And then Slows, in my opinion, has been pretty dreadful, especially on the Draven. We see actually some Draven bans against him, which is a bit surprising to me. I can understand what teams think banning the Draven, because even though he has had very bad Draven games so far, it's still this Draven fantasy, right? You've all played against Dravens where just a few things go wrong, an early dive goes wrong, and he goes off to 4k gold lead, and suddenly the game becomes unplayable. And you don't really want to be in that position against MBE, because you know if it's just a normal matchup, if it's just ordinary champions everywhere, you probably win every single game, because they can't play mid and late game. So I do understand the Draven ban, though I also feel like you don't really have to ban Draven, because Slows himself on the Draven has not looked very good. So, yeah, this is still one of the players I'm hesitant about, especially in such a strong ADC region. You kind of need to come into the league with a little bit of a better showing than Slows has. Maybe he can improve on the second half. It's his very first split on the pro stage, on the tier 1, A tier league, the highest level in Vietnam. So obviously we want to cut him some slack, but then again, other ADCs have come in and been very good. Shogun on his first split, Artemis when he came in, like all the big star AD carries. Then again, we have Style as another example, who struggled a lot after a lot of hype in solo queue. He came in and was not so great. So maybe he can have the Style trajectory. I don't know much about Slows in terms of hype from solo queue, so he's definitely not in the same tier of hype as Style was when he came in and kind of entered his face off for 2 splits and then suddenly started winning. So, yeah, this whole team is a little bit subdued. You don't really have big rookie prodigies apart from Tom Rio. And it shows. It shows. Unfortunately, it does show. So, let's see. It's really hard to talk about MBE because I don't want to be too negative, but I also don't want to lie to you, right? They haven't won a single game. They could be the worst team of all time in VCS. No team has ever gone 0-14 as far as I'm aware. So if it continues to go the way it is going right now, they might be on track to become the worst team ever, which of course no one wants to be. But then again, they kind of entered the league through means that were not, like, they weren't supposed to be in this league, and it shows that they're not ready for this competition. So it's also not very surprising. So yeah, it's just really hard to talk about this team in a positive light because the players aren't ready, they aren't good enough. The team is clearly not good enough in terms of macro and working together. So we just have to hope. All we really can do is hope that they improve slowly but surely and maybe pose a little bit more of a challenge in the second half. Because at this point, when I look at the schedule for VCS matches, for upcoming matches, and I see MBE, I'm already kind of losing my desire to cast those games because it's just a foregone conclusion, which is which is not something you ever want to say. Yeah, I'm looking at chat right now because I want to see what you guys are up to. Oh, we seem to have the Rift finally, so just a little delay. Hopefully not something too bad that is recurring. Let's go on to the Rift as we see Flash try a fancy little invade, but nothing should come of it. We could see a flash over the wall from Sora if he really fancies it. No, good positioning from Slows on the other side there, just to walk away, go close to the wall, so Sora has a very high likelihood of actually hooking the wall instead of him. Good to see. Conqueror against Lethal Tempo. Lethal Tempo Nocturne is something that used to be the standard rune. I actually have seen some Nocturne go back to Conqueror. It's a bit of a mix and match. Lethal Tempo conceptually makes a lot of sense, right? Because you do have one of the strongest AD buffs in the game, which the way AD and attack speed interacts is the more you have of the one, the more the other gives you value. So this is one of the reasons you should never go double attack speed items on most ADCs, because it's diminishing returns. The change from 1.5 attacks per second to 1.7 attacks per second, in comparison to something like the change from 200 to 250 AD on the same attack speed, is not comparable, especially because you don't actually get to attack in a vacuum. Like, you don't get to make use of all that attack speed most of the time, so when you see people, I saw it yesterday in LCS actually, someone built 2 attack speed item plus Kraken Slayer plus attack speed boots on Jinx. That is just a really bad build, because the attack speed is not giving you anything anymore, especially with Jinx going over attack speed cap. If she actually gets over the attack speed cap, then the value can actually get higher again. But once you're nearing attack speed cap, it's not actually good to go into that much attack speed, especially on a champ like Jinx that deals 110% of her auto attack damage on, or her AD as damage on her rocket auto attack. So you're even more incentivized to actually build AD, because the higher your AD, the higher the extra 10% are. So attack speed, overly indexing into attack speed is something a few ADCs do. And yeah, if you just do the math, it's not very good. So hopefully Slows is not going to fall into that trap. And especially if you go Kraken Slayer, you don't really have to go any attack speed item, really. If there's not a big tank you need to attack a lot, you can kind of just forego any attack speed items, because Kraken Slayer gives you 10% per additional mythic, plus the boots. So even without any attack speed items, apart from the attack speed boots, with Kraken Slayer and 3-4 items, you get to 1.5 attack speed, which usually is more than enough to have really high DPS numbers. So these high AD builds are starting to dominate. We have a little bit of a trait. Nautilus gets the better of that one. Slows is investing so much mana early on. Has already used 2 cookies, I believe. Slows needs to be careful not to over-index into the mana there, because once he has no mana, his trading becomes really, really bad. If he can't throw those rockets through the minions and just Harris pudding. Oh, there's the first gang. Tom Rio has the lantern, and here we go. Sorry, with a flash to the other side. Tom Rio, easy kill. Nice execution. Now the counter plays here. Ooh, where's the spell shield, Tom Rio? Might have spell shielded something earlier. Doesn't matter. First kill to MBE. Very good to see. Good setup as well. Zodiac planning that for miles ahead. Yeah, it's a good kill to Tom Rio too. He used his flash But he will now be quite ahead for the first gank with his level 6, which I expect to be either in bot lane again or in mid lane, because Jane, if you can stick to Jane with Nugu, maybe flash body slam him, just unlock him into ultimate, you can kill him quite easily. So I would actually like to see a little bit of a mid lane visit, try to force his flash before you level 6, and then get the easy kill once you hit level 6 on the Nocturne. It seems like Nocturne for now is content just going back to farming, which, I mean, is fine too, right? He already got the early impact. Nocturne, not really known for early ganking anyway, even though his first ganks usually are quite potent, especially with something like the Lantern to catch him up. We're not actually getting a replay. It's unfortunate. I wanted to see what Tom Rio used his spell shield for there. But yeah, the start is definitely a good one for MBE. The big problem with Nocturnes right now is that transitioning the early lead into a win is actually quite difficult, especially into these front-to-back team compositions, because Nocturne's role into front-to-back team comps is really strange. You don't really know what you're supposed to do. If you lose the ability to dive onto the back line later on in the game because you don't go full assassin, that is too risky for pro play, you kind of lose all purpose. You can try to peel, you can just sit on slows, and whoever tries to go on top of slows gets an E from Tom Rio, but then Nocturne is not really designed to be a peel champion, so yeah, he kind of just loses a lot of value in the late game if you can't stick to your targets. So that's something we are going to have to keep our eye on. They do have decent accompanying dive in Nugus, Gragas, and also Sunma to a certain extent, so they could try to triple dive on top of Puddin, but we've all seen what happens when red-white Aphelios gets dived on. So yeah, this is a very scary team composition. I think MBE is on a little bit of a timer with their dive comp. They do have the late game insurance of Jinx, but honestly the Jinx and the divers really don't work well together. Like, the top side of this composition doesn't really make sense with the Jinx. Renekton, Nocturne, and Jinx, just, they want to do completely different things. Oh, and here we see another engage. That's a nice purple gun setup, should be an easy kill. There we go, that's a kill to put in 1-for-1 bot lane. Very nicely done. Very good coordination. I love to see when the support and ADC are in sync about Aphelios guns. And yeah, I mean, Zodiac used Flash on the first kill, and Team Flash made sure to punish him for it. Yeah, very good stun lock. Actually, there was a flash from Fook there. I don't think Fook had to flash. But better safe than sorry, so that's alright. We're not allowed to see the first kill, unfortunately, in the replay. We did see the second kill. Not sure why we are hating on MBE so much. That's fine. It's fine. Tom Rio is sitting on level 6, and his flash is like 1 minute away, so we might actually see him wait for the flash to use that in unison with his ultimate to get the first kill on his ult. Ooh. Trying to return gank. They don't have the purple gun setup, so now it's way harder to actually find the opening. Oh no. Oh, it's a horror. Ah. The darkness comes in and nothing comes of it. Ah, that is so unfortunate. We need to see what actually happened. Why did he press his ultimate? He was so far away from everyone. Jane flashed. Okay, something happened in mid lane. Jane used his flash to get away from Tom Rio, it seems. So Nugu used his ultimate, then Jane flashed away, and Tom Rio's ultimate was a little bit too late to leverage Nugu's advantage there, it seems. At least he gets a very early Rift ult. That's 300 gold funneled into this Nocturne once more. And yeah, MBE, once again, playing a decent early game. They do not look out of their league in early game most of the time, even though their average gold deficit is still almost 3k gold. We have seen them play decent early games, and yeah, it's once again one of those games where all their lanes are doing fine. We see even CS across the board. Top lane is a little bit worrying. You should not be down 10 CS on Renekton into Sion matchup. That is not good, because obviously the Sion is going to provide much more later on in the team fights. So yeah, Sunma struggling a bit. with this Yoshino Saiyan. To be fair, as I said, Yoshino is one of the best top laners right now in the league, especially in the laning phase. He was up more than 50 CS 2 days ago. Then into a bit later on in the game, but if we just talk about the laning phase, Yoshino is looking resplendent this split. So we have a nice little Herald used here to get a little bit of an advantage in bot lane, but it's still even gold even after Herald, so everything done and dusted. Team Flash is now pretty far ahead because they got the first dragon, and dragon of course does not get shown, dragon stats do not get shown in the gold department, but that is one of the best individual dragons when it comes to stat increases, and especially on a team with so many tanky or tank stat users, you get quite a bit of value. That Saiyan is already looking quite tanky, and we already see him dominating lane, so he's never going to be in any kind of trouble. Wow, Tom Ryu messed that up really badly. He used the spell shield way too early. Oh, that is an inexcusable mistake. That's one of the slowest spells in the game. That's just nerfs. Oh, you hate to see it. They picked Tom Ryu, it carry champion, probably because Tom Ryu wanted to play this. And then he misplaces mechanics so badly. That is such an easy spell to shield. But he uses the spell shield too early. Really nice proactive play from Flash. It should never work. Honestly, it should never ever work. You should never get a kill here into the spell shield available from Nocturne. But there it goes. And now Team Flash is starting to accelerate. It's only a 600 gold lead, but that's two more platings, I should say, into Puddin, who already got a kill. So this Ophelia is now quite far ahead in terms of... Actually, not in terms of items, as we see Jinx finishing a first item already. But yeah, should be ahead of the curve for the mid game against the Jinx. And of course, the Fuguan Jaeger is now looking pretty strong as well. Yeah, sorry, I disabled the caster command for now because it's changing so much over the last few days. I'm gonna enable it later in the day. At the moment, it's just me. It's best your way. So, I'm sorry, the caster command is not there. I can update it if you really want, but it's just me. There's nothing to see. So, 12 minutes in, the next dragon is coming up in 20 seconds. We have pretty decent items actually coming in for Team Flash. No ADC item yet, but Puddin is still rather strong on these breakpoints, especially with the boots, good repositioning tool, and his flash is available too. So I'd say Team Flash is in a pretty good position to fight for this one, especially looking at Nugu not sitting on Roa. We have no item for Sunma. So I'd say if Team Flash calls Yoshino down for this fight, which they have, as you can see, Yoshino is sitting there, and look at his HP bar. This early in the game, one tank item ready, only armor built on him, and more than 100 CS on the Saiyan. He's unkillable. Like, the Jinx takes forever to cut through him. So, yeah, this was a very easy dragon. We see yet another Ocean Soul, which, of course, in the current meta, has actually gotten better again. Last year, I was a big hater of Ocean Soul. I thought it was mega overrated in the meta where everything was about one-shotting the opponent. But nowadays, we are back-to-back in front-to-back team fighting with a lot of tanks. So Ocean Soul gets a lot of value. If you have a Saiyan on your team, you love Ocean Soul already. Same goes for the likes of Rice, who has a lot of HP to work through. Or to work with, I should say. So, yeah, this Ocean Soul looks quite scary for MBE to face. Yoshino is probably never gonna die if he gets the Ocean Soul. And Team Flash playing a slow, but rather effective style so far in this game. Not taking too many risks. One very nice mid lane play to get them a little bit of an advantage. Bot lane is winning, top lane is winning, jungle is sitting pretty right now, so nothing to complain about. Team Flash looking like the far better team in terms of coordination. There you go. The command is re-enabled. You can spam the command now if you want. So, Aurora is finally here. Black Cleaver, first item for summer. Apologies. Well, here we have another engage. Sora finding Zodiac. Ooh, that's another nice little double knock-up. Slows, but that's the first kill for Slows. Slows is excited, has his lethal tempo stacked. He's almost dealing damage to the tanks anytime now. Good little counter engage. They stood their ground, and yeah, Yoshino is taking a lot of damage from that. That box dealt an insane amount of damage. Yoshino might have to flash away, yeah. MBE showing up for this fight and not letting Flash run away with the game. That's very good to see. Utilizing their strong power spikes on ADC and honestly even Zodiac contributing so much damage there. The base damage of Thresh's box and Hook together into the full armor Cyan in top lane, that dealt something like 300-400 damage to him. Surprising Yoshino, so he had to flash away. And yeah, they didn't really get the objective though, and now Flash on the aggressive in the top side. Sunma, run, Sunma, no! Yeah, he might be dead here. I think he's pretty dead. Yep, there we go. This Crocodile is not looking too happy about this game, and first tower still goes over to Flash. So MBE, even though they stood their ground really nicely in the topside river to contest for the objective, they lose everything in the end anyway. I'm not sure why we watched this replay that just happened on our screen literally 5 seconds ago. I would have liked to see the replay of the fight, but sure. Thank you, observers. So I'm not entirely sure what happened. Why is Flash now getting away with everything in terms of objectives? MBE had good positioning on top side. They just decided to teleport their, or just recall their Gragas into bot lane. And he did get the tower, but with second tower, and they lost the kill, and they lost the Herald. So yet another bad macro decision. Also, you don't really want to funnel your gold into Nugu anyway. Now, what's that gonna do? So, MBE with a little misstep. 1 minute to Dragon. They will try to get a little bit of vision into the river here. But I feel like Flash is more than prepared to fight for this. And if they win this Dragon fight, the game looks really rough for the side of MBE. So one more chance to maybe get close to Flash. And they do have decent item power spikes coming in. They have one item for everyone. They have Jinx almost sitting on 2 items. Jinx is so fast on her items today. Even though she should be behind in gold. Unfortunately, we don't have individual gold right now. Hopefully gonna see a little sneak peek onto that statistic later. But yeah, Jinx items very, very cheap in comparison to the big BF sword items for the side of Aphelios. So she might actually get to 2 items before Aphelios even has like close to 2 items finished. You should... Nah, she didn't reset now. So this is still a decent power point for Jinx. She does have Flash available too. So if they wanted to fight for this Dragon, they could potentially, but they're really far behind in setup. And now the river belongs to Team Flash. So we squandered positioning once again from the side for MBE. It's so unfortunate to see them do this all the time. They had vision setup before. But now they have to run into the river without any assistance from the wards, so it's very dangerous. This is not the way Nocturne wants to play the game. He doesn't want to run face first into them, but what are we doing over here? Jane, what are you doing? Okay, Slow dies anyway, so the fight is won. Puddin, really low, can Puddin live? Puddin does live. And now Flash. They might have just won the game. I need to see a replay of that. Why did Slows just explode without using his Flash? Fuguan could ultimate on Zodiac. No, he doesn't. Okay, Fuguan still gets... That's a little dance. Zodiac walks away with his life. There was absolutely no reason for him to stay alive, but it's nice. Good to see him live. They still lose the tower, they still lose the dragon, so... Flash got everything they came for. This is one of the craziest flashes over the wall for Jane. I flamed him there. Need to see. Maybe he was actually making an amazing play. I need to see this in slow motion because it looked really into me. He flashed into 5 people and into the Thresh grab, but somehow stayed alive. So hopefully we finally get to see a replay of a team fight. I'm not sure why we never show team fights today. The tech is not here. Ah, there's the gold. And here's the replay. Okay, so he gets grabbed and he gets the stun on... Oh, what? How did Yoshino find that? Everyone just stepped away. Yoshino just ran at him with Cyan, and neither did he flash away from the Cyan ultimate, nor anyone blocked the Cyan ultimate. That... I don't think I've ever seen that happen in a pro game. That is so weird. You have a 5 people setup. Everyone is staying on top of each other, and the Cyan just runs through all 4 members onto the Jinx. The Jinx doesn't flash away and just dies to the Cyan ultimate. Wow. Okay. I mean, there was a lot going on in the fight, to be fair. Like, Jane flashing into 5 people is probably gonna disturb you, but still, please, just run in front of your Jinx. Protect your Jinx from that Cyan. Well, I did not see that in the original speed. That is weird. So, yeah. Jinx not flashing the Cyan ultimate, no one blocking for her. So, that is now giving Flash a really good mid-game advantage. It's still only 1.5k gold, but if you look at the scaling of the champions and also the dragons, of course, it's definitely more than that. We have 2 items now for Puddin. He's quite strong, very high AD numbers, so really good white gun, for example, because white gun doesn't use attack speed as much, because you get automatic attack speed once you're close, and you have the towers anyway, so high AD is really strong for that one. So, yeah, this Aphelios looking really strong. Jane is close to hitting his 10-minute mark on the Rod of Ages, so that's gonna give him a big spike too. He's not that close to level 16 yet, which of course is another huge spike for the Rice with extra damage on Q. So not actually very early Roa in comparison to other games. Usually Rice hits Roa 10 on level 14 or 15, so... a little surprising. Jane has been grouping a lot, so makes sense for him to be a little bit low on experience. But overall, the team composition for Flash just looks so easy to play. If you think about Flash's composition here, you have the biggest tank in the game in Cyan. You have a really good skirmisher in your jungler who can kind of do front to back, as unfortunately my feed froze. Hello? Not entirely sure if that's on my end. Probably on my end, unfortunately. So, yo. Which is working, though. I'm not dropping frames, so shouldn't be my internet. But it has fixed itself, so we're back in game, and Flash is sieging this tower. That's a risky teleport, but it's gonna come through, and someone is diving. Jane, please. Jane, what are you doing? You're not Cyan. I think Jane and Yoshino should probably swap places on the team, because Jane just wants to go in there. That's the second fight in a row where Jane finds himself behind enemy backlines for no apparent reason. So, a little bit of respite for MBE. 1 minute to Dragon. They might actually crack this mid tower, which would be a huge boon for their Dragon setup. Yeah, that's a big swing. So, MBE is still in here with a fighting chance. Look at the Jinx. Jinx is really strong. Her item build is so cheap, she accelerates quite fast onto the 3rd item. She's not going to go highest single target damage with IE, instead she's going to go consistent DPS and of course very high damage on the Cyan, which they need. They don't have a high DPS AP carry, so she has to be the one getting rid of Yoshino. Actually, this game now looks kind of playable. I still think the Nocturne is utterly useless, and Samba is kind of useless too, but if you somehow get Jinx a good excited team fight and she flashes the Cyan ultimate next time, then yeah, maybe there's a way. It's still gonna take about 20-25 auto attacks for her to actually kill the Cyan, as we see the train Yoshino searching for the station, but yeah. Yeah, not quite there. This ultimate, of course, can be used very freely. It has a very short cooldown. You can see it tick down, so absolutely no flame to Yoshino. You can always look for this opportunity. It worked unbelievably well last time, so just let him cook. Maybe he finds the station next time. This game has evolved into a little bit of a VN run, because everyone is just perma-grouping mid lane. Once again, MBE has given up positioning on the river when the dragon is spawning. Please, can you please, for once, fight for a river position, as we have the big fight now. Yoshino, standing his ground, he's going down to half HP. They actually deal a lot of damage to Yoshino, and Slows. Can Slows get excited here? Still firing away. There's the kill. Slows is excited, but he can't use the bonus. He's now trying to chase, but it's still only the zombie he's attacking, so the excited bonus kind of going to waste. It's 5v4 on the map, but the health bars look in favor of Flash, and Puddin is still full HP, and Puddin can really pop off here. He is red-white now. Puddin, can he deal the damage? There's one kill. The dragon is still low. There's another kill, and Tomrio gets chased away from the dragon. He needs to steal. Oh, there's a soul. Tomrio, he can't get back in. It's soul for Flash. That should be all she wrote for this game. Really nice patience from Flash to actually stay there, and even though they lost their big front lane, they knew they still had the positional and numbers advantage. It was a 5v4 on the map, but the HP bars were in their favor for sure. Really nice from Puddin too, playing very far up, very aggressively, standing his ground with red and white. Still had both summoners available too, so knew he was perfectly safe. No one had CC to run him down. Good to see. Flash just showing good team fighting once again, and MBE, I mean, this game is not the worst game they've played. I think they're playing an alright game. The one thing that's really showing is that they don't have the timing for river control down. They're always fighting from behind, always fighting from really bad positions when it comes to dragon control. Like, why are they not fighting for vision early on in this game? They actually had the tower down, and then they reset at the worst possible time to get vision back, and now it's all Team Flash that can set up the fight. As Slows has died somehow. So that should be Baron pretty easily for Team Flash. No Flash for Tomrio, no ultimate for Tomrio either. There's absolutely no way for him to get close to this Baron. This is one of the easiest Baron setups you've ever seen. There's no objective for the other team to take on the other side either, because we're already sitting on Soul, so it's just a little bit of despair for the side of MBE. They have nothing to do, they know they're losing, and they can't do anything against it. I am indeed solo casting for now. We are going to have a Dash join in for the second series, so I'm not alone there. Yeah, unfortunately with a lot of illness this week and a lot of other commitments and work. Why are people working on the weekend? Unfortunate. But yeah, we have a lot of people in the team who just can't make it this week, so a little inconvenient situation for us, but should be better by next week again. Our two play-by-play casters on the usual team just couldn't make today, and it is what it is. It's also only an MBE series, so are you missing that much hype? Are you really? Is anyone going to be excited about this team? It's the unfortunate reality of MBE in the league. Flash also, I mean, I was actually really excited after week 1 for Flash. I was really down on them before they came into the league. I thought, okay, Flash is probably going to be the bottom tier team and not contesting for players. And they did lose earlier this week, which was a big hit to their playoff chances, because they did have the opportunity to go 4-3, because they still had the MBE series and they were sitting at 2-3. They played against Wales yesterday, I believe, and I thought they had a chance, especially with the ADC matchup of Puddin into Wit. But it didn't work out for them. They lost 0-2. So this series is really important. They need to look clean. They need to go 2-0 to match all the others' game scores into MBE, so they don't fall behind on the games won, on games difference compared to all the other teams. And especially if Saigon Buffalo loses later today, which is what we all expect against GAM. Well, GAM is 6-0, and Buffalo is struggling, so I would expect Buffalo to lose. Then Flash is actually tied with Buffalo, so they're not looking too bad in terms of their playoffs chances. Of course, we only have 4 playoff spots, so it's quite hard to get there. And yeah, Wales is 4-3, Cerberus is 5-2, SPDC is 4-3, as we might have the last fight of the game. Yoshino might have committed a little too deeply. Yep, there's the exciter for Slow. Slow needs to hit some targets. He just can't get close enough. It's so Yeah, it's so hard to play for him in this game because his team can't buy him space. They are all really weak too. We have Sanma who's probably going down in 2-3 hits if he goes in. So he would really love to have the Scion on his side so he can actually step up and fire some auto attacks with his amazing range. And he's getting that first kill on the Scion. So that's step 1 down. But if you can't ever follow it up, if you can't use your get excited attack speed bonus to actually snowball the fight, then the first kill doesn't really do anything. And Flash is super happy to just have Yoshino stay in this in the back line by tank for 10 seconds while the rest of the team is just getting objective after objective. So I feel like for the next game I would like to see MBE go with a tank on the top side. This Sunma Renekton is not doing it for me, especially if he loses lane into Scion. Like what is even the value of Renekton if you lose lane into Scion? It's just completely useless. It's also Renekton into Nautilus and Aphelios, which, I mean, nah. It's not really playable. So, a full tank into the Scion, maybe the Cho'Gath. We have seen some Cho'Gath into Scion. It's a good lane matchup. It's, Kassanti is another good one into Scion. Really good in lane into the Scion. And much tankier. So, I think you need, if you want to play these slows Jinx compositions, which I like, I think it's a good option. Oh, come on, Santma, press the lantern. No. Ay, ay, ay. Ay, ay, ay. It's a horror. Yeah, this game. It looks so frustrating to play for slows. He's so strong. Look at his items. He's 4-item Jinx. He should be able to carry these team fights, but he just can't ever step up to fight a target. So, especially after this game, I want to see slows on Jinx again. I think slows on Jinx is a good band-aid because he doesn't have the greatest mechanics, but Jinx is honestly a pretty easy champion to play, especially if you have the team to set you up for it. So just build a team composition around the Jinx. I like the Nugu Gragas, buying a lot of space, buying a lot of time for the Jinx, disrupting the team fights. And yeah, you can see he's actually dealing damage, and his positioning is fine. He just can't ever step up. This is actually a promising fight now. Jinx with a lot of damage, and she can... Oh no, slows, no, he stepped up. No, cut the tape. He stepped up. He tried. He tried for once to actually do what I was telling him to do. He tried to step up and instantly got deleted by the enemy Aphelios. Yeah. This is the issue with this composition. You just don't have the champions to buy you the space in team fights. Yeah, try to build a comp around the Jinx next time. I would like to see Sejuani in the jungle or anything that is similar to the Sejuani. Maybe transition the Gragas into the jungle. So you have a lot of CC there. And a nice tank. Yeah, the Renekton is a champion, by the way. A nice tank in the top lane where that can buy a little bit more space and time. It has a little bit of CC there too. And then just play front to back, let Jinx carry the team fights. I think that would be a really smart approach for MBE, because at some point, even if your macro is really bad, if you have a super strong Jinx, you will win a late game team fight and win a game. So I think that's the only hope I can see for this team right now. And honestly, I've been rather pleased with Slow's performance. We don't talk about what he's trying to do here. He gets a little too hyphy, but honestly, I mean, he kind of has to try. No one else has any kind of threat on the enemy ADC. He played it too aggressively, for sure. He shouldn't ever step into range of Aphelios to get double crit and just insta-die, but he had to try. He's the main damage, the only damage in the team. I don't really want to say too many bad things about him, because I think in this game he's certainly showing us more potential than he has before. I think his team fighting is looking a little bit better than some of the other champions. Of course, that's also a champion thing. Jinx is much easier to teamfight with than Draven. His Draven in teamfights has looked really dreadful. His Jinx is looking better. And he's 5-3 and 4. He is looking quite strong. 4.5 items. If Flash decide to int into the Jinx, late game Jinx, we've all seen it. Could happen. It could happen. Yeah, they almost look like a team over this week. Yeah, I agree. They look better. Their team fighting is a little bit better. Their macro decisions are still horrible. Their fundamentals around the dragon are still something I'm It's almost painful to watch. I just need a coach to sit them down and walk them through what to do about the river. As we see, why Nocturne in the late game is just not a champion. Very, very strong approach there for Nocturne. Just walking in and dying instantly. Come on, Slows. It's your time to shine. 4-item Jinx. Let's go. Yeah. No. Okay. Team Flash win a game that was honestly well fought from both sides. A little bit more promise from MBE. In the end, it was still... No one was ever questioning if Flash was winning... Whether Flash was winning this game, I think. Almost everyone could see that Flash's combo was better, the execution around the dragons was better. But at least MBE stayed close and kind of held... tried to hold up to Flash's pressure. We see here the statistics. Jinx, 32.5k damage. Just build a comp around the Jinx. I want to see it. Honestly, after this game, if I were a Flash coach, I would ban the Jinx. Because I think you look at this game as a coach for Flash and say, as I expected, we win every game against MBE if we play standard. But I'm a little bit worried about their potential to pop off in one fight and then just randomly just roll over, like trip over and win the game. For no reason, because they have the Jinx. So I would ban the Jinx, just make the game as easy or as streamlined as possible, make the game as familiar as possible for your players, where nothing can really happen. I think if you play Aphelios into Zarya, into this MBE composition, or any other of the traditional ADC champions right now, there's no way for MBE to ever win a game against Flash. So getting rid of these one-off pop-off champions like Jinx, like Draven, I think is the approach I would take. And please, please, MBE, never play Nocturne again. That's my request, because this was a really bad Nocturne showing. Tom Rio had one good play the whole game. That was actually more of a Zodiac play than a Tom Rio play. And then he looked dreadful for the rest of the game. The champion looked absolutely useless in team fights. So I do not want to see this Nocturne ever again, especially if you play it with the Jinx. That just makes no sense to me. So bench the Nocturne, play a more standard team composition, build a team around the Jinx, and maybe we see a closer game in team fights next time. But for now, I'm going to take a quick break, and we are going to wait for game number 2 to come up as Flash. Do some using here. The right score is 1-0 for Flash. So, yeah, that's going to be the next game in about 10 minutes. See you then for game number 2, and to see if MBE can finally win a game after 13 tries that haven't yielded a good result. They were close, somewhat close in this game. Maybe one more game can bring them over the line. See you then. Welcome back to game 2. Oh, and we seem to be going right into draft. Good timing from my side. Apologies for no timer right now, because for some reason my usual timer program is revolting, I don't know. Just doesn't want to work today. I tried everything to restart it, to make it cooperate, but unfortunately it's not possible, so I'm gonna try some other means to get us a timer for the next series, but we'll unfortunately have to work without one now. For now, we have the draft on our screen. MBE now on the blue side, Flash on red side. We have Raven once again bent away, the Tristana bent away as well. This one is directed at Nugu, not at Slows. And Annie and Jay still bent away from Jane. We did see some very questionable Jane Rice play, so maybe banning his two most played champions is the correct move. After seeing that Rice, yeah, why not? Try it again. I like this Gragas first pick. I think Gragas first pick is something we've started to expect all around the world. It's sitting on a 21% win rate in VCS. That is very, very low. Surprisingly low. But okay, it just won. Did it win a game? No, it just lost another game. So yeah, unfortunately, with MBE playing yet another Gragas game, that might go below the 20% mark after this game, unless they can finally pull out the first game victory after 13 tries. They are now sitting in their 14th game, and they are approaching historic marks of game loss streaks in Tier 1 leagues, I think. The biggest loss streak I can think of is... which one was longer? So we had... H2K went 2-16 one split, but I think they won a game in the middle somewhere, so I don't think they went like 0-15 or something on a streak. Dignitas just went 0-9 over in NA. That's the longest loss streak ever for NA teams, as far as I know, because they talked about that. But we had this one a really bad LPL team that they're called Victory 5 a few years ago. They went 0-16, but I think they won some games, so I need to check which one is actually the team with the longest game loss streak. Because MBE is getting close. They are chasing that record, unfortunately. They are 0-13 so far, and they're trying to attack that record, or to get away from that record, with a Zarya, Gragas, Lee Sin composition. A lot of CC, a lot of playmaking. Don't hate it. I don't really think this is the way to go as MBE. I think you should probably just draft the stupidest teamfight composition you can and hope for teamfights, but... they want to show us another Tom Rio Lee Sin, and honestly, I like his Lee Sin. He is a very good Lee Sin player. Lee Sin into Viego is a little bit of a strange pick, because Viego is considered the counter into Lee Sin, and Fuguan is very comfortable on the Viego, so picking the Lee Sin into the Viego is a little counterintuitive to me. But then again, they just want the red composition, so let's hope for Rakan and... what's another red champion? Annie is banned, unfortunately. Brand, I guess. Samira. Yeah, they haven't won a single game. It is rough over here. Yeah, it is. It is unfortunately not great. Watching this team struggle so much on stage, it just... you can't even make fun of them at this point. It's just sad for these players. Let's just hope that they can actually pick up the game before this split ends. They are allowed to make roster changes in between round 1 and round 2, so I am looking out for new prodigies from, I don't know, from wherever. And there are so many ranked players in Vietnam. Just get some new players in, just get 10 new players, pay them a bit, and try out some new players, because these players aren't really working. So I can't believe that this team can't find better rookies in Vietnam. Vietnam is one of the highest, or one of the biggest populations in terms of server and ranked population, so just try some other people, I feel like, especially in ADC and top lane position, in my opinion. I think Nugu is alright, Zodiac, Not the biggest fan, but then again, you support, so whatever. So I would try to find a new ADC and top lane prospect, because to me, Slows and Sunmer are not it. We do continue on the red composition, which is nice to see. The Victor is kind of red as well. Don't last pick Renekton. Come on, no R5 Renekton Flash. Don't do this to me. We just picked Renekton, Desire, Rakan, Gragas. Why? And Victor. Someone needs to explain to me what the hell people are seeing in these Renekton last picks. I am not a Renekton hater, by the way. I am not one of those people who say Renekton can't work in any composition. I actually quite like Renekton on good teams. Like, I like Kiaya Renekton. It's a really nice snowball pick. If you have Renekton and, especially in earlier seasons, I actually do think Renekton right now is on the weaker side because he doesn't really dominate a lot of lanes like he used to, which is a little bit detrimental to his overall performance. I do think he also scales a little bit better with the current itemization, but compared to some of the other options you have, I just don't like to see Renekton as much. But if you want to play Renekton, play a Renekton composition where everything is about mid-game, grouping, early item advantages, and 2-item power spikes and Dragon Snowball and so on. Why would you play Renekton into Xayah, Rakan, Gragas? It just sounds like suffering to me. Like, it can't be fun to try and dive Xayah as Renekton. And Victor on top of that too. Like, Victor is pretty good into divers as well with his gravity field and his shield movement speed and so on. It's just a puzzling thing to see Renekton R5 into face-up compositions like these. But, sure. Maybe this could be enough to give MBE their first win. I do like MBE's composition in some aspects. They do have nice synergy. The Victor's a little doesn't really fit the same kind of short-range engage style of the rest of the champions. But then again, you do have decent disengage too. I am a bit worried about Victor, Xayah fighting together, because Xayah very short-range, very playmaking and kiting focused champion, and Victor is more of a long-range, like, control choke champion. So, I mean, Xayah does have decent choke control too, and you actually have really good zoning here on Gragas, Xayah, Victor. So if they can finally enter river first, they can really force the enemy team away, and the enemy team is very short-range too, apart from Jane on the Talia. So this game could really come down to who gets priority over river, but unfortunately, from what we've seen in the first game, that is not something I would trust MBE with. So it's a little confusing to me to see MBE play compositions that don't really make sense with the weaknesses they've shown. Because as someone who has seen every single MBE game this split, I think, or at least almost all of them, I would just say, be more cynical with your compositions. You have to realize that you're not on the same level in terms of macro and objective setup as the other teams, right? You have to be aware of that. At a 0-13 team in terms of game score, like, you need to know that this is your problem. So just play super simple composition. The old LEC thing was to say, KISS, keep it simple, stupid. And I don't really understand why they're not trying to do this. They kind of had this setup in the last game. Just play Jinx again. Jinx was there. Jinx did fine into Aphelios last game, so just play the Jinx and pray for late game team fights. Yeah, this is something I really hate to see when bad teams try to play meta compositions that they just can't play. But who knows? Maybe they actually can play them. We're gonna see what happens in this game. But just look at the items. Put in starting Cull into Xayah Rakan. So very low HP total into a very aggressive lane, very strong pushing lane on Aphelios. That already tells you that he does not respect the enemy team that much. He's just saying, I can scale for free here. I don't care. Not a good look for Slows and Zodiac. Hopefully they can actually punish him for this slightly overconfident buy, maybe. Because you can see Puddin is very low on HP. Not current HP, I just mean total HP. And Tom Rio looking for the first move. I like this. But he gets spotted. And Fook 1 fully aware of this. I think Tomryu actually saw the Gromp disappear mark there. So you should also know that Fukwon just finished the Gromp. And there were some pings on the map. So full information for both junglers. Fook is just disengaging here. Fook full clearing 4 camps. As we have another little engage from Zodiac and Slows. And they are playing these 2v2 engages quite well. It used to be a counter matchup for the side of Nautilus into Rakan. I don't think it really is anymore. I don't think Rakan really has big counters in terms of engaged champions. It's more countered by Enchanters. Nice reaction from Sora. That should be a kill. Really nicely done, Sora. Good one. That was really nice mechanical showing from the Sora. We don't really expect to see Sora, formerly known as Artie, as one of those mechanical pop of Taki style supports, but that was really nicely done. Good awareness of what he had to do to counter that dive, and that is a horrible first sign for Zodiac 2. Because Xayah Rakan is dominating this lane. Now they gave over free 200 gold to the enemy ADC. They invested so much time to set up this dive for their jungler too, Tomryu. Spent all the time to control bot side, and then it goes wrong. Watching MBE is suffering. Let's see if they can somehow find a way to, get back in this bot lane matchup. Because now Puddin is actually level 4 and has the good guns for laning phase. So you can actually push back into Xayah with a blue gun, being able to clear waves quite easily. He's ahead in CS on a call start and is going to be accelerated in his item build. Ugh. Oh, I am. I'm sorry, my Discord people. I wasn't actually paying too much attention. Was just focusing on OBS and Discord. Just a quick little interruption there. Sorry, nothing really happened, so I don't think you missed much. Looking at top lane, Yoshino is once again dominating Sunmer, which is not surprising because Yoshino is a much better laner than Sunmer, but it is not a great sign. R5, Renekton just stomping his lane. I guess that's what he's here for. Let's see if he can double kill. He gets, he's pretty low, but he deals a lot of damage. Conqueror stacked. Oh, he forces the flash for Tomryu. I feel so bad for Tomryu. He's trying, but his lanes are just not setting him out for success. It's so sad. I do not want to be the jungler for MBE. I really do not want to be the jungler for MBE. I think we do have I will be joined by one of our long-standing VCS fans, who's also doing a lot of the prediction game and stuff. It's Beast. Yo, wait, you're not audible on the stream yet. I need to make you need to unmute desktop audio. There we go. Hello, welcome.
Hello. I'm here as cover. And it's already going off. It's a really interesting series today because MBE don't have a win, but if there's one team that maybe they could get it against, Team Flash are the other newly promoted team, so it's possible.
Yeah.
But looking at this early game, it's looking like
sure
another
if it's possible.
2-0. It's another 2-0.
Yeah, it looks like another 2-0. So, you are the stat person. Do you know off the top of your head, what's the longest losing streak in a Tier 1 league ever in terms of games?
I think it's the LJL V3 losing streak. They subbed in their academy roster and then they basically lost every game. So, I think it was definitely more than one split for that team.
More than one split.
Yeah, it was bad. It was very bad.
Holy.
They effectively had an academy team that was beating some LDL teams, And you'll remember V3 from LGL because they did go to Worlds one year over DFM, and they got this academy team in, and it wasn't it. They went 0-21 in 22 spring. So yeah, I think we're still a bit off the longest lose streak ever.
Okay, we have something to cheer for the rest of the split then.
Looking at this series, it's quite likely.
Yeah, I'm unfortunately feeling the same. Yeah. I think we need someone to really run it down for MBE to win a game, because it's just like, what can you even say? It's just that they're not on the same level. Like, it's unfair to the players to flame them, but they're just not. Like, it's not even the players. I mean, the players are also the worst players in the league. Now, don't get me wrong; they're also outclassed individually. But the worst thing is, even when they get ahead, even when they're even in game, they just lose every game because their understanding of team fighting and their understanding of setups around objectives is so unbelievably bad in comparison to all the other teams. Like, they're not even the same league. You can see the differences there. It's like playing, I don't know, it's probably like playing a plat player in a Masters game or something, where somehow they made it out of laning phase alright, but then they go to the objectives and just in their face off because they don't understand the league. It's so sad to see.
Yeah. The analogy I can think of is, this is what would happen if you time traveled QTV from 2019 to now. Zodiac was also on that team.
Oh god.
That team also got relegated. They went 4-10. And that was a team with Nevan, with the infamous Quinn clip, and Genza Jisoo, who have now gone to Wild Rift.
Wasn't it Seal
and
as well?
Zodiac. Yeah, and Seal. And Zodiac as support. And that team went 4-10 then. And I think this team is about the same level as that team. Like,
yeah, I mean, 2019 was a dark age for VCS. Yeah. If you think about it, the league was so bad.
Yes, most of the players have either retired or gone to Wild Rift from 2019. Never infamously retired. That's what that QG team with Zodiac also had Hero.
I mean, Hero had a big glow up. Like, Hero was the star of the show back then as well, but he is now a much better player. I think he got, wasn't he a 2-trick on like Vladimir and what's this other champion?
No, it was a 1-trick on Vladimir. Yeah. I think he got it in one.
Right. He could only play Vladimir. Oh no, they didn't even get the chart. MBE, don't do this to me.
It's appearing slightly.
So I'm not sure if you listened to me talking about the draft here, but do you see any sense in pairing or in going Renekton R5 into Zarya, Rakan, Gragas composition? Doesn't this sound absolutely horrible to play?
So here's the thing. Yoshino already knows that this game is won, and he wants to pad his laning stats. So he picked the earliest lane champion in the game, and maybe actually win a fight.
Oh, it's a triple for Slows, potentially.
The blast cone, but he's in no man's land now, so he's probably dying to Tomrio. Yeah, he is.
Spider Nord. Spider Nord. Come on, Slow, Sora. No.
Not really much hope.
Wiggling back and forth against the champion with AoE abilities is not. Oh no! How did Slows?
He spent that long trying to give it away, and then
Slows just died to put in. Why? How? No. Slows.
Will we get a replay?
Maybe.
Okay, so starts really well. Burst Zodiac, but then the 3v3 and they've used everything to burst the Rakan. Yeah, so then we come into the second part of the fight and it's a huge pull of Zarya feathers. And then Slows can just run down.
I want to see what happened here.
So how did Slows now?
So what did Slows... Wait, Nugu and Slows are here. How does... I actually don't want to see it. This is going to disappoint me.
Doesn't have ult, so okay. That's a lot of damage.
Nice. Just put in playing well. Just put in channeling his inner Artemis. Nice. Good to see.
And Yoshino comes down to get drag.
So, do we have any mid laners that could step in for Team Flash? Because I think mid lane is the big issue for them to compete for playoffs. I like their top lane. I don't mind Fook. I think actually Fook has had a decent split. I really like Puddin. I'm fine with Sora, but their mid laners are not great.
This is always the issue with VCS.
Yeah, true. But
Even when it's like Froggy at MSI getting gapped a bit in lane as his bot and top are doing really well.
His top was
even all the way back to Optimus missing 3 shockwaves in a row.
Yeah, I mean, it is by far the weakest position of VCS. Like, not even close. VCS mid is really bad. We don't have a single player that is world class in mid lane. While we have multiple world class players in both top and ADC, I'd say, and jungle definitely too. So, yeah, mid lane is really rough over here.
I mean, both teams here, that MBE have Emo and Nugu, who both haven't looked brilliant, and then Jane is fine.
Nah. Today he has looked really in. I mean, both of these games so far have been yikes.
Yeah, we're at a point now where fine is just not really good enough.
I mean, like, I do think he's
Jane doesn't make too many egregious mistakes, and this fight will come to nothing. It's just walk away.
Just Rakan, too slippery. But I mean, they get positioning on Herald anyway. So these games look so comfortable for Flash. Like, there's no doubt in my mind that they're gonna win, and I don't think there's any doubt in their minds either. It's so easy to just walk to objectives, and MBE is always second on objectives. There's not been a single objective in this whole series where MBE had better positioning. It's almost.
We do have
comical.
the game deciding coin flip coming up, I believe. So
hey, they got it, and they're gonna lose the fight anyway.
Did Zodiac just W onto the mines of Talia? I want to see that on a replay. I think he just face planted.
Yeah, I think so too.
But they do have.
They did get the Herald. They will get the mid tower, hopefully. So yeah, an objective for MBE. Nice. Will they get the mid tower? Yay!
They will get mid tower. That is one objective. Congratulations, you.
Indeed.
And actually, Flank coming in. Will he go for it? No. He regains his mentality.
Yeah, look at Puddin. Puddin has had enough. Puddin has had enough. He just went top to farm. Relatable.
Very. So there is some hope here. If they one-shot Pudding, that is where a lot of the gold is now. If you actually look at the rest of the team, it's pretty close. It's just the massive ADC gap that's the gold difference right now.
I mean, it's true, yeah. The problem is, how do you want to put in with this composition? Like, you have to get Rio to find him, because, and Zodiac, I guess. But Zodiac has such a hard game to play into Talia and Sora. If Sora and Talia just peel for Puddin, Zodiac can never land anything on him.
There's Summoner as well. One Summoner barrel could be a dead Ophelio.
No, Summoner is not a player in my eyes.
I see.
I don't really consider Summoner as someone who could do anything unless I see it, because, well, he hasn't shown it to me yet. So. Unfortunately, we don't get to see the replay. We don't get to study Zodiac's movement. I would be interested to see what he did there.
No, I'm fairly certain he just W'd on top of the Talia without thinking.
It actually happens so much in pro play. I think pro still.
Oh, it really does.
Yeah, it is. Ever since the Talia rework, it has happened so many times where people just jump into Talia E and then get stunned and look really stupid because they don't remember.
No, it's completely
not this
fine.
Again. Not this
he
again.
Doesn't even have to flash.
Yeah, he is old still.
He is completely chilling. What can Flash get on the other side? Dragon number 3 is almost certain, but what else can they get?
They're trying to trade tower for tower? Yeah.
No, it's a nice trade. So, 1 for 1 on towers, and Flash will get a dragon as to get 1 free as well.
Honestly, I think Yoshino could have tried to 1v2 there. He was probably scared of more than two people coming, which is fair because Zodiac was there. But honestly,
Zodiac
I don't think they have the damage against his ultimate, against all his sustain, his Gore Drinker. If he keeps Gore Drinker till pretty late and stays under tower, I don't think those 3 champion can really kill Yoshino. I mean,
yeah, that would be an interesting limit test for sure.
I mean, it's the better play to go away, right? But honestly, I think he wins. He already won against them earlier in 1v2, and now he has better items too. And he has Conqueror and ult and stuff.
True. So, they didn't get the dragon for free though. They might lose this mid tower. There's a TP in behind actually from Jane, and he does have ult to cut them off. This could be really huge if this... Oh, it was Yoshino's 2P, not Jane's. I was wrong. Here comes Jane now.
Yeah, let's look at Renekton into this composition. It's really playable, by the way. Yep. He had perfect positioning for a flank, and he can really do a lot in this team fight, as you can see.
He hit a stun. He did his job. That's the thing with Renekton, right? It's not that he's ever that good. It's the fact that the number of point-and-click CC options are so limited. Yeah, okay, you've got Nautilus, but
look at this comp. In this comp, he's just dreadful. Yeah. And to play Renekton into Xayah Victor
just to press W so Jane can hit the flip. And as we talk about this, they get the mid-tier 1.
I mean, they still win the fight, because no one in MBE is actually doing anything. But both their carries were completely fine for the whole fight. If their carries were actually human beings, they could actually win this fight, I feel. Now that's too harsh. I apologize, but watching these players team fight is just frustrating. It's very frustrating. Look at this positioning. We have 2 full HP carries. Can we please hit something, please? No? Still not? Okay.
That sounds like having a chance of winning.
Hello? Victor, are you in the game? Are you connected to the server? Look at Victor in this fight. He's full HP the whole time and he doesn't do anything. Into divers. That's Victor's dream. Under tower into divers. What is he doing? Nothing, I know, but why? It's... Ugh. What do we do with this team, Beast? What do we do with this team?
Well, I'm just considering that loss streak. Do we just consider VCS games, or can we consider that tier 2 star invitational with all the economy teams? Because they went 2-4 there. They lost 2-0 to a stream.
Yeah, but if you consider that, I think you have to consider all the tier 2 teams as well. And maybe a challenger team has an even longer loss streak.
True, that's possible. So... there might be a pick here. Jane, okay, Jane, respect flashes. I actually like that. This game is so won if you just wait for soul.
That's true.
So, that Q probably did miss. He probably dodged it, but I really like the respect flash.
Once again, it's the correct play to flash there. It wasn't necessary, but it's still the correct play. It looks a little silly because the Q missed, but you shouldn't play as if the Q was missing, because the better player would hit the Q and then you lose the game for no reason. So, yeah, it's a correct play. I like it. Jane's playing more respectfully this game. I like him more here. The Rice game, we didn't talk about the Rice game. Did you see what he did there?
We don't talk about the Rice game.
So,
back to that mid lane point. The mid laners that I can think of off the top of my head that could be an improvement are all sort of stuck on benches. So obviously we have Garm, who picked up Play Cool, which arguable if it'd be an upgrade, but that's the first person who comes to mind, as this guy is at least VCS level, but he's on a bench behind people. Obviously VCS classic of role swapping people mid from top lane. We have such a deep top lane pool now that it wouldn't shock me. Honestly, unironically.
I mean, absolutely unironically. Why do I have to watch Sunma play when Marcus exists? I don't understand. Marcus was good. Marcus was actually smurfing. Where's Marcus?
It's a good point. Okay, so we'll have a whole 30 seconds now of pretending MBE have a chance to win.
MBE has good positioning on the river in this game. MBE, to be completely fair to them, they have looked much better in this game when it comes to objective setup. They punished mid lane twice. They are first on river this time for the first time ever in their lives against a VCS team. So this is impressive for MBE. They are looking much better. They might still lose the fight, but at least they were first to an objective for the first time ever. So that's good to see.
Yeah. MBE this game have hit the starting line. They actually got mid tower from Herald. They actually got to river first. Like, this is the starting line for pro teams, and they've actually got there now as the fight starts. MBE already down 1, but they actually can kite back pretty well here, and they used a lot to get that onto Sumner.
Yeah, the problem is Nugu would have to start playing the game for them to win. Let's see if he can do it. That's a good... kind of good. Yoshino, wow, that was such a good gore drink and nicely done. And now the game is unfortunately just over. But they still... I was very toxic earlier this game. That's not fair to them. They actually played a much better macro game this time around. They were there first on the objective, which is something I blamed them relentlessly for last game, where they lost every positioning on Dragon. This time they just got out-team fought, which can happen. I mean, it's hand diff. It's also coordination diff with Yoshino, a 3-time champion, right? So you expect them to lose team fights, but at least they were first on the objective. That's such a good sign of life. Maybe they can actually improve. And Marby just told us in chat, 15-game losing streak last split from Genius in VCS. So they're 1 series, they're 2 games away from that one. So that's the first record they're chasing. So maybe with this performance they can avoid that negative record, because they are looking a little better.
There is some hope. The issue is for Box that this is one of the easier teams that they've got to play against. The next 3 series, it's the top 3 of the league. It's Wales, GAM, and CES. So the likelihood to break the loss record is quite high, I'm afraid.
Though it is Wales, you never know with Killer Queen and Glory.
True, there is a coin. It has been flipped.
What was Slows doing over there? Big bad crocodile just ate him alive. And his ult was like 2 or 3 seconds away. Really unfortunate. Good timing for Yoshino. I'm not sure if he timed the ultimate, but he just went for it. Why not? He's super strong.
Okay. This is... Actually, they're just not contesting. That is interesting. I think
there was no way for them.
Not really got a hope. So, again, we're seeing MBE making better decisions. Their decision making has gone from like the we're not playing macro level of we're not getting to river first ever, but they are actually doing things that it is now a skill issue, not an everything issue.
So it's interesting, right? Because last game it was a clear macro issue, while their team fighting was actually alright. Like, it wasn't great, but it was okay. In this game, the macro is looking much better, but this time the team fighting and the mechanics are bad. So it's a little bit of a catch-22 there. But I feel like I still like what I said in draft, and after game 1, I think as an MBE coach, I would be extremely cynical with my draft. I would just first pick Jinx, put a Sion or a Cho'Gath in the top lane, put some other tank or CC machine in the jungle. Mid lane doesn't matter, because all mid laners in VCS are shit, so mid lane is whatever. And you just play late game team fights. Like, who cares? Just pray for the Jinx to actually pop off, and the Jinx look good for slows. I would like to see that. I think the Xayah is just the wrong approach here. I don't think you ever win team fights against the better teams with the Xayah. Just go ultra hyper carry. Next patch, go Vayne. Just pray for something to go wrong, and you have the champion that can actually win the game alone. Go Kale or something like that. Just some hyper carry that can just warp the game in your favor, where you shouldn't win a single game, but maybe that champion can make you win the game. Aurelion Sol comes to mind as well. I would like to see them just go to these champions where maybe something goes wrong, maybe they get a few early kills and somehow win.
The dive starts, that's a 4-man ult from Sora, and already the fight... Sora just hit a huge engage. It's 13k gold diff, so just how good that engage was didn't matter. But that was one of the cleanest Nort engages you've seen. Like, 4-man got knocked up by the ult, and he hits another hook. That's another dead member of MBE.
Oh, the Victor damage. The Victor damage. Oh, Slows. Oh, Slows gets hit. Really nicely done for Puddin. Puddin with the awareness. What an execution there. Another kill. Puddin. I like this player so much. I love seeing good ADCs. All the good ADCs have good Aphelioses. I think Aphelios is like the modern standard champion for ADCs. You have to have a good Aphelios to be accepted as a good ADC, and Puddin is has certainly passed that test. Much more dominant performance from Team Flash in Game 2, but also better macro performance from the side of MBE. So, a little bit of a... Well, it's hard to praise them for this game, but at least some of their setups were looking a bit better, though their mechanics weren't the greatest here. So they need to improve. They are the team where the meme is most applicable. Do you have the meme ready? They are a great team. They just have to improve literally everything.
Yeah. Only team fighting, laning phase, skill, macro objectives, warding, CC, drafting. But for the other side, for Team Flash, they're now 3 and 4. So they now have a clear series above Team Secret in this battle for battle for 6th. And this is big, actually, because Secret, it's not going to get much easier for them. Like, they have to find a series for Flash, and basically that means that they're head-to-head. Because, realistically, are Flash and Secret beating Garm? In current form, no. Are they beating Cerberus? Well, Cerberus did lose surprisingly to SE, but I don't see that changing. Both teams should be beating MGN Box. So there's not really many places for Team Secret to actually re-overtake Flash. And as we see just how dominant this was. No Drakes. 3 kills all game to 17 deaths. And surprisingly, 3.2k from Lee Sin. He was in quite a lot of fights to say that's how low his damage is. Like, Rakan at 1.7, I can see you are W and then you run away. But
it was also an E max Rakan, so even his W engages don't deal any damage.
Yeah. And that's another point for... Tom Rio has come in and he was permanently benched behind Levi. We wanted to see him. What do you actually think to this jungler?
I thought he looked like by far the best player on this team for like the first 3 weeks, but this week he was rough. I think this week he was not really on the rift. The Nocturne game was a horror. The Lee Sin game, I mean, he tried his early dive in bot lane, but it went wrong. So once again, he didn't find a single opportunity. And honestly, I do want to cut him some slack, but because I think it's very frustrating playing jungle when all your lanes always lose. Like, it's the Yankers and LEC situation where it's just, you just lose so much faith and everything you do just backfires on you because the enemy has better tempo, they have better players. He tries to gank top, they get 2v1. He tries to gank bot lane, his support dies in the dive because the enemy support is just a better player. So I do feel like I want to give him a little bit more time, but to me, he's the one promising player on this roster. The one player I want to see in the league a little bit more because all the other players... Yeah, I don't think they're VCS level.
Well, that concludes our 2-0 stomp for today. Our next series is very, very interesting. Now, I'm not going to be on for that one, so I'm going to give my thoughts now. It's SGB versus GAM. And compared to where they were this time last year, by this time we pretty much realized that the top 2 were going to be GAM and Saigon. But right now, with the sub out of BJ and the sub in of Guri, there's actually been quite an uptick in form for SGB. They were 0-3 to start the split. True. And yes, they faced Team Flash, and yes, they faced MBE. But they beat Wales. And Wales are 3rd in the current standings for a reason. This team has looked like it's improved. And it's going to be very interesting to see, can they really compete with GAM? Because this is big for the end of the split. Because if this team does make playoffs, they're probably facing GAM in the first round.
Yeah, that's a good point. I I mean, as you all know, I'm a big Saigon Buffalo fan, and I still think their bot lane is looking really strong. I think their bot lane is still competing for best. Bot lane Shogun is still competing for best ADC. Has had amazing carry performances, especially against Wales. His like Shogun against Vid was the deciding matchup where Shogun just put him in the dumpster and they won the series. But the top side is just very, very inconsistent. I'm still on the fence about Hasmid. I think Hasmid is still looking really rough. Has some really bad games, and Hasmid against Kiaya was kind of the deciding factor in their series against Gum last year. So if Kiaya has a good day, I think Hasmid is gonna get stomped. I need to see Hasmid get into better form if this team wants to compete for the title, because their bot lane, they can only do so much. They're already putting in so much work. They're already trying to carry every single game. If the top side is not performing, you can only get so far against the GAM top side, against Cerberus's consistency.
And when we put it like that, it does awfully remind me a lot of what we talk about for Glory and Killer Queen in previous years before they'd been joined with a stronger core around them. These two being really good, but needing a third player to step up to really join that top tier of VCS. So we'll see if the players around them can do that in our series later. And on GAM's side, do you have any thoughts of their team? Obviously, once again, GAM are brilliant, but we lost B, and now Zin steps in, and Zin looks all right. He doesn't look like the same, this guy will fit right in for a 6th, 7th, 8th place team. He actually looks like he's contributing very well to the GAM roster.
Yeah, my one concern with Zin, I've always been a Zin defender. I actually thought when he was playing on a bad team, his mechanics still looked really good, especially for a support player. My one concern with Zin, especially in comparison to B, is when the meta shifts, as it's doing right now, into more engaged style, because I think he has looked best on lane-dominant champions, like the Heimerdinger. I've loved his Heimerdinger. His Ash, his stuff like that, where he can play lane, he can make use of his very good mechanics as the former EDC, actually looks super strong. I'm not sure if he can be the same level of engaged support that B has been. I don't think that's realistic, so that's my one concern for GAM. But other than that, I think all their players have looked really good. Again, Kati is having an amazing split. Stahl is super flexible. I love the flexibility for Stahl. The Ziggs, I hope we see some Viger soon as well. And Levi is just Levi. So, yeah, I mean, this team is once again better than I expected. Every time I think, this is the time, Gum is finally getting overtaken by, I don't know, Cerberus or Shogun and his Buffaloes. But nope, it's Gum all the time in the end.
Yeah. So, I'm going to leave this here unless you have any extra points to add.
Nah, we have a whole nother series to go over, and of course, our guest caster for later today is Dash, so get excited for our hype play-by-play caster there. Once again, apologies for the low-key solo cast today, because we had a lot of illness and other commitments. Unfortunately, very short notice. Thank you very much for coming in, Beast, here to assist me a little bit. And we're going to be with the full casting lineup for the rest of the series for this week. We have Dash later on today and Milky tomorrow to join me, so fret not, you will get some play-by-play on this VCS English channel. But for now, we're taking a short little break for Gum against Saigon Buffalo later today. Finals rematch from last year, the hypest match of the week. So get ready for that one. Get some coffee, get some tea, whatever you like, and see you in about 20 minutes.